Mark Zemansky, we're back with Solopreneur episodes. Still working on that name.
Yeah, same. Naming things is hard. It's great to be here.
I actually want to turn this into an official podcast. You know, it's just more work. Do I want to do that work for Mark Zemansky?
You know, yeah, I don't blame you. You got to have certain things that you do. You got to see if they're revenue drivers or just for fun or somewhere in the middle. I'm working on that myself, so I feel you.
Yeah, we're back. We're going to talk about what we've been up to in the last week-ish or so. Got some things on my plate that I don't mind talking about, things I'm working on, and you always have things that you're working on.
Always. Always.
Let's start with you because I feel like last time I dominated the conversation about the stuff that I was working on. You put out some videos recently. I mean, you're doing your shorts every day. You put out your WordCamp 2025 recap with you and the guys, as I'll call it.
The boys.
You and the boys. We won't recap 2025 because we already did that last episode. But what else you got working on? What's the major goals? What's the vision halfway through September?
Always got things in the pot cooking. Yeah, I mean, really my main thing, zoom out 5,000 or 50,000 foot view, is that I need to be, I've been saying this for a while, but in different contexts, and I have been making strides, but I need to be much more intentional on like where I'm aiming. I've actually never really had like a revenue goal. And I think that's important, not because of the reasons that people maybe think just inherently. Like if you say you want to make, again, my number right now, I'll dive into it, is $30,000 per month. How did I come up with that number? I mean, you might say like you want to make all the money in the world, but I came up with that number because in my mind, based on the math that I've done, and more so ChatGPT did, is based on how much money I need to survive, how much money I need to like replace my wife's income so she doesn't have to work as we build a family and things like that, then that's the number that my businesses need to bring in order for me to take home the amount of money that I need to do all those things, right? Minus expenses, minus taxes, everything. So it's not arbitrary number. It's based on, circumstantial data and evidence. And I've never had that. Now that's not enough though. You can't just say I want to make that amount of money and then it just happens. So now the next step is like, okay, that's where I want to go. How do I get there? Specifically with inputs. And I don't know how much we've talked about it on these episodes, but like I recently have gone through a health and fitness change in my life and it's going fantastic. And I approached that the same way, but I didn't realize it at the same time. I had a reason, a goal that I wanted to hit, and then I just started working out. I started eating better, like very specific inputs, and it's going fantastic. So I'm hoping the same thing happens in business. We'll find out.
I just ate an Uncrustable right before I hit record.
Grape or strawberry?
This one was strawberry.
Fuck. Loser.
Yep. Grape
all the way.
Fantastic. 260 calorie snack. Probably not
they
the
are
best,
good.
Though. So, so you started to take away my next question, which was going to be, based on that goal, which I think is, totally respectable and, makes total sense. Like, how do you see yourself adjusting, to make that? Because you do really well, like you said, just for the listener, you do really well with these daily goals. Obviously the shorts and the health stuff. So how do you see yourself like putting those tasks in order to achieve that goal?
Yeah, I'm in the thick of it, so I don't have a great answer. But really the simple answer is that I can't rely on serendipitous inbound shit anymore. But the funny thing is, like, so for instance, almost I think every website project that I've ever gotten has pretty much been inbound. Every sponsorship and, things like that on the content side has pretty much been inbound. The thing is though, I've been in this weird no man's land where I haven't been doing any sales outreach. I've been doing a ton of marketing, but the marketing hasn't been tuned to get more leads. It's only been tuned to get more, again, like influence or notoriety or just like attention, which is good. But I either need to change that or I just need to do more sales outreach. And I've done none in my life. So it's pretty simple. That's what part of the outputs or that's what some of the inputs are going to be around. I had that line a few months ago where it's like, I just need to ask people for money every day. Didn't do that. That wasn't nearly specific enough. But the same concept still applies. Like, there is so much money out there, and I have the skills, and I'm building like now literally like teams around kind of some of this a little bit, the beginnings of it. It's super exciting. So I think it's going to work out, but I need to just, again, as stupid simple as it is, literally just be like, okay, every day, like reach out to 3 people or something like that. Like, again, I need to work on it, but that's how I see myself adjusting, where I'm still creating content, but I'm also like, I have no offers, bro. Like, I literally I've sold things, but I don't have like specific offers for a lot of stuff. And yeah, you're not gonna sell anything if you don't have like an offer to put in front of somebody. So
How is that project going where you hired somebody to work with you and you're consulting with that customer? Where is that at?
the web stuff.
The web stuff, yeah.
Yeah. I would say overall project has gone good. It's probably gotten like slightly delayed like most projects are, but for various reasons, our side, client side, to some degree, waiting on images, for instance, like new headshots and things. Overall though, I think everybody's relatively pleased. I don't know how to review the experience, because I wouldn't call it like an extremely complex project, you know what I mean? Like, but overall I feel like it's gone well.
It's different than what you were doing in the past, which was you just doing everything.
Oh yeah, for sure. And from that lens, it's definitely better. Like, I could have had 3 of these going on at the same time,
right?
You know what I mean?
And that's where
I never even thought I could do that.
And that's where I'm going with this inflection point. When you say like, "Oh, I've never had an offer," that's fine. I would also look at it as you started something new with what I'll just call like you started to build a team, and you started to build, and then you'll have to like refine what that workflow looks like. And I think it's just like, okay, how do you look at that? How do you rinse, repeat it? You say I could be doing 3 of these things. To me, like that road to 300K or whatever the number was, is how do you look at that scenario and say, all right, how can I operate at 3 or 5 of these? Like, is it that same person times I can get 5 clients, and that same person can handle 5 clients? Or do I, in order to get 5 clients, I need to bring on another person? And what is that person like? What does onboarding that person look like and getting them up to speed? What do I have to do to get these customers in? More importantly, though, like, how can you evaluate the current process that you're in right now, where you're like, oh, we're kind of hung up on a few things, like getting content, getting photos. Like, do you see anything there where you're like, that next project, I'm going to build in stopgaps to say, if it goes beyond whatever, 14 days, 2 weeks or whatever, to get content, like there's something else that triggers to the client that says, okay, we're just going to move on from that phase, and we're going to complete our phase so that Mark Zemansky gets paid and can, move on and bring in that next client.
So I think there's 2 specific things there. Like, yeah, the stopgaps. I mean, you could do a bunch of things. You could literally write into the project that, like, at a certain point, you're gonna have to pay us extra or whatever because you're bumping another time. I mean, I don't know if that's the way to go necessarily. I probably could have managed. I'll put most of the blame on myself. Probably could have managed the project better. Probably could have been like, hey, it's like literally as we're signing documents, like, hey, why don't you go set up a headshot, like put that in their mind even a little earlier. Probably could have done that. The one thing I would say about getting paid though, if you're talking about getting paid extra, I actually do think there's a way that you could write that in, like almost like a delay fee or something like that. If it's definitely on them, I'm not really sure if that's the best way to create like a good client relationship. But maybe in certain circumstances, you might want to enact that. But the other thing, if you're talking about like getting paid for this project, this is sort of a side note, but it's completely related. Like, there's different schools of thought on this, right? But every single time that I pretty much I've taken money in the recent history, I have set this up so I get paid all up front. Now, maybe it's a little bit less if it's like, like for that project, I think I said this when we were talking about it. It was like something like 10 grand and then, like 10% discount if you pay up front. And that's what they went with. So I actually don't, I mean, like if I didn't finish that project, if something I got the money that I was supposed to be paid for that project. Also, another random small note there is they're also paying for I also set it up so they're paying for maintenance when the project begins, because we are deploying it on hosting and we are doing all this stuff like from the beginning, and we do, even though it's in development, we are maintaining it. Typically I don't want that to be too long, that process to be too long. And if it is a really big project, obviously might not do that exactly, but relatively short turnaround time as far as like a month or two. Yeah. So from the finance side, I mean, just to clarify there, that is I'm not in a bad spot there with like that project or anything, and I think that went really well. It's really just about completing and deploying as fast as possible. And yeah, it was my first time, so I've learned a couple things here and there with the project management side.
What do you
but more
use
so
for
it's just
project management, in terms of software and like visibility on the project with either your team and the client or just yourself?
Oh, that's a great question that I don't have a impressive answer for. I'm communicating with contractors through Slack. I'm communicating through that client through Facebook Messenger because it was a friend. Not good. Wouldn't recommend that. And then I'm
yes.
And
as soon as that left your mouth, you were like, yeah, nobody else do this.
And then the what's it called? The I mean, we have a client portal, so that's custom one that I built that I have high expectations for. I mean, they could manage their billing and do everything through there. But as far as like actual progress on it, it's really been async, kind of like video and updates and stuff like that. Plus, I mean, they have access to it. It's on the staging site. Their main domain has like a cover page on it right now where they can get forms and stuff like that through there. So it's not like completely dead. And then they can check up. It's kind of like when you're building a house. Like you can drive over to the fucking site anytime you want. And check out the progress. But yeah, that's definitely a huge opportunity there to make that a little bit better, especially for larger clients and ones that aren't as close to the vest, I would say. But yeah, I mean there's a ton of options, I guess, though, too. I mean, there's like Adarim and all these other things. But just one quick point on that, like I think that your clients definitely have, like, the typical client probably does have feedback for sure, but I'm skeptical as to like how much feedback they have and how much it really depends on the client. I just think that there's such a huge generalization on tools like Adarim and things like that, where great products, but I'm saying like the actual, like, are a lot of clients like really willing to go in there and just like make a bunch of changes and shit? Or do they, I don't know. I'm sure it wholly depends.
Yeah, that was going to be my next point. Like, you don't always have to have. It really depends on the client, and I've always been of the mindset of, well, I'll talk about the project management side of it first. Yeah, this is like, everyone has their favorite project management tool of choice. It's very cult following. It's very like, developers have their ways, just like developers have their ways of development workflows. People have their ways of, in their ways of doing project management, their favorite tool. I will say that if I ever go back into client services, my favorite tool, hands down, is Basecamp. Because one, the price, it's $99. So from like a price point perspective, it's very palatable versus, I remember when I was doing client services for the podcast hosting company that I work for, we were producing podcasts and all that fun stuff. We were using Basecamp. It was based on my recommendation, and everybody's like, oh, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have that. And I'm like, we need checklists, we need calendars, and we need file storage, because what I want to do, to kind of answer your point about the customer side of it, is I just want to give visibility of ownership and responsibility to the customer with the project management tool. I don't expect them to go in and be like, I definitely don't want them going in and being like, add this task, add that task. Wait, you did, having them check up and say, why didn't you do this? Like, I mean, they could do it if they wanted to. Most customers are not going to do that. But what I wanted was them to have the visibility to log in and see a calendar that says, customer, you owe us photos. You owe us content. Here's the dates. It's assigned to you. This is your task in order to like move this project along. And the fact that Basecamp has file storage, and it's just like, just throw all the files in there, and it's just stored in there. You're not Dropbox, separate link, all this other stuff. So from the clients I work with, was very good. The point of the story was then we had some other people on the team, and they were like, oh no, we need Asana. I need like automatic workflows to trigger off when a customer does this in a file. So I think it was the owner of the company that I work for, and he's like, let's move to Asana. And then it was like $780 a month, you know, for our team. And then it was, when we onboarded with them, it didn't have all these other features, and they were like, well, we can build it for you for an extra, literally like an extra 5,000. It's just their typical business model, Asana and HubSpot, where it's like, we get you in at a low price, and then we're going to sell you client services on top of that, or custom services on top of that. So anyway, the point is like, my favorite tool is Basecamp for its simplicity, for the end user, for the customer and your team, and the price point I think is really smart. But I only used it for that context of, hey customer, this is what you owe us in terms of like things to be done, and as an insurance policy. So like you chatting, and I know you know this, but like you chatting through Messenger or whatever, like I would, there's a lot of things here. Like, this sounds like a project that's going, relatively well. You've been paid up front, but I think just as you start to scale, these things don't go that same way. And then you'll have some customers, waiting to pay you, other customers ask, tasks. And then if you have team turnover, like if the person you're working with goes away, like how do you pick up the slack if you do have 5 customers running at one time? Like, oh, what did that person do? What's the task to be done? And if you're bringing in somebody else to the team, like you need to be able to, have some continuity there, right? And I mean, you learn all this as you scale it up, but yeah, like I think that's what you start to run into as you scale this out. And then that's why I'm saying, like, you look at this project, okay, things went pretty well, but you see the things that you could fill the gaps on, and then how do you get that to the next thing? Because if it's 10K and you're trying to go for 30K a month, you got to land 3 customers a month, theoretically 3 customers a month. How many times are you going to get 3 customers a month? 50 contacts, maybe, where they're saying yes. I mean, certainly not 10. You'd have a 30% close rate, which would be amazing. So, maybe 50. So that brings it down to 10% close rate, if that, 8%. So yeah, I mean, I think you're in a good position to analyze where you're at, and then like, how do you rinse, repeat that for your customer or for your next customer?
I mean, I think you make a good point about keeping the project management side like simple. Some of this stuff is just hypothesis, critical thinking based, and obviously somewhat anecdotal. But I don't know. Let me ask
you this. Have you ever had a customer on the website that you absolutely hated? Like, things just went south. It was like, I'm not paying you until you do this. You said you were going to do that. Has that ever happened to you yet?
I've had some like, I mean, I would be lying if I didn't get emails like a lot in the past that like I looked down, I was like, Jesus Christ, like just stupid stuff.
Yeah.
But have I ever had like a real client? Are you saying like a real blow up?
Blow up. Yeah, a real blow up.
Honestly, I mean, I could think of like a couple like very early, but like they honestly weren't. I honest to God, I would take accountability, but they weren't really my fault. It was like miscommunication. Maybe I take take accountability for the miscommunication, but it's not like, like it wasn't like I made a severe error, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, I only bring it up
too much.
And I project a lot of like things I've gone through to you.
Yeah.
Or I have projected this to you in the past, where I'm just like, you have to be careful of these things, only because I know how it affected me. So like we've had, and maybe at most, let's see, the team was at our high point was 2 full-time developers, front-end designer / front-end developer, full-time project manager, and then basically me and my dad doing sales, And then we had like freelance copywriters, some freelance designers for like other things. And at any given point, like at our high point, maybe 15 projects going at once.
Wow.
And I mean, that was like at our high point. And, you know, that's when I was doing like a lot of higher end projects. I mean, they were higher end customers. They were paying us more money. They were a little bit more complex. And then there was like a bunch of like smaller business websites my dad was selling, you know. So like managing all that was a task. That's why we had a full-time project manager. But there was a few years there where we did get one or two like bad clients where they just like expectations weren't, you know, that weren't aligned for either of us, right? And it's just like, oh, we've paid you a $5,000 deposit, we want it back. Like, and you start dealing with that stuff where like the customer's like, oh, if you don't, you know, give this back and whatever. It's just a huge deflation of like, you know, oh, why do I do this? And that project management tool is fantastic for those moments where it was just like, I've given you the roadmap of how we're going to achieve this. You did none of this, right? You did none of this stuff. So it's just a nice like insurance policy.
I mean, I think there's a couple things. One, I don't think I've had to deal with that because I've been so close to the work, obviously, literally doing all of it. So, and I'm not a piece of shit. So I'm not a piece of shit. So like, I'm not allowing those things to happen because I will just, you know, if there's a problem, I'm going to see it. I'm going to take care of it. You know, even if I'm like slacking a little bit for some reason, as soon as the thing rears its head, it's like, okay, I'm going to take care of this right now. We'll get it fixed. And then I will explain it. If it's my fault, I'll take the accountability and I'll say that it won't happen again. Maybe I'll comp you for something, or you know what I mean? Like I feel like customer service wise, you know, I've just been pretty decent in that regard. So I think that's part of it. Yeah, I think that would be, you know, a big part. I don't even understand the scale of, you know, dealing with 15 things at one time. Obviously you weren't doing all of that work. You know what I mean? Like you had a ton of people. So it's like, yeah. So it's like you're dealing, I mean, I'm sure the project manager was good, but you're still at the mercy of somebody else. Like you're completely removed from a project. So you can't even like see it, you know, and I'm just not at that phase yet. So I would assume it's almost like more likely for things to go wrong at that point.
Yeah. If you start selling into, and these problems came with, you know, more problems or more money, bigger problems, right? And it's with bigger companies. And these are things that are external, outside of your control, where you talk to, you know, somebody who's on the marketing team. They're like, yeah, we love it. And then she quits the job. And then you're like, and then that whole company looks at you and they go, who are you? And like, well, you're the one that owes us like 15 grand. And they're like, we never even, like, we don't even know what's going on with this project. It's like, well, you know, Mary said we would do this. And then, well, Mary's not here anymore. And it's just like, wow, now we have like this whole, and this is those levels of scale. Whatever, like maybe you never sell into those types of the businesses, or just being aware. And the whole point of it is like, that's why I like a project management tool for this stuff, because it just does outline those responsibilities. Sure, you have a contract, but you know, what are you going to do? Are you going to put in like, you must deliver 15 photos to me by September 18th in your contract? It's like, that's never going to happen.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to continue to use Facebook Messenger. That was, and I haven't used it in the past. Like it's been like email and other stuff. And yeah, I'm trying to think if there's ever been, I've heard of Basecamp, but I've seen it. I just haven't implemented it. But one point I wanted to make there was, this is the whole thing I was talking about, like kind of like anecdotal or whatever. My hypothesis, could be wrong, is that if I want to charge more money for the things that I'm doing, part of it, at least, you know, kind of subconsciously, is that the client is going to get a better product, so to speak, a better experience, and they're not going to have to do a ton of work. Like I just can't see like, I'm not saying that doesn't mean you shouldn't have project software. I'm just saying it's like, in this case, all I wanted from this client was, give me like the core things about your business that I cannot create myself. Like, give me, you know, like some information about your team members, some information about the history of your business. And, you know, like I interviewed them basically on a call. And then I honestly largely leveraged AI for a lot of this, based off, not just slop, but based off of good input. And it's worked well. And then I can't generate content for, like, I can't generate media for you. So I need that as well. So those are like the only real things. Like, I'm not asking them to like pick colors or do any weird shit like that. So my point is that I just feel that I don't want to charge somebody 10, 20, $30,000 for a website and then make it feel like they have to physically work for it as well. Now, I don't know if that's the wrong approach. And I'm not saying they're not going to be doing anything. It's just kind of like a fine line for me where I feel like I don't want them to be doing all of, a ton of stuff either. I don't feel like that's how it would be, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's people charging $500,000 for websites and the client is doing a fuck ton of work. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. It depends on what, defines, once again, like some of our best clients was when we were doing WordPress integrations into their systems, and from like a technical level, we had to wait for them, like their engineering team had to do stuff in order to send the data to WordPress, and then they had to test stuff. So there was a lot of like really detailed stuff on those larger projects, maybe less so on whatever, a business website with, content and photos and stuff like that, where it was just easier to get, or we could like bring it down from other places where, just tell them, hey, we pay our copywriter to write this stuff for you, and then you can sign off on it. So I don't know, like, where that lies. But what I would say is, when you said I've never had like a real offering, the one thing that I would do is evaluate this particular project. And I think you're, again, in good graces with this customer. I don't think you'll always get a customer, and I know you know this, but I don't think you'll always get a customer who's going to just say, okay, I'll pay the whole thing up front, especially if it is 10 grand. And if they do, and I've talked to you about this before, is like, is that like, what's the offering that Mark Szymanski's and his team can ship with high profitability and high value to the customer? Like, if they like, this was an amazing process, I love this, like, we got this whole website from Mark's team, it was 10K all in, and he did all these things. Can you do that again for the next customer? And do you want to slot yourself into go to Mark Szymanski's website, go to Mark Szymanski's website and buy this web package for 10K, and in 10K we do all these things for you, but we don't do all this other stuff. We just do this, and it's 10K shipped. Read the testimonials from all these other people who bought our 10K package. They loved it. You will too. Sign up now. Or you could take the more like agency approach where you go, well, if that guy bought it for 10K, maybe the next guy will buy it for 15K. And then you start to play with, I don't think this is a bad thing. I know a lot of people probably like, oh, I don't like kind of like selling on value. I think that's what makes an agency survive, to be honest with you. Whereas like you look at your work and you go, wow, we did a lot of work here. We provided value. The customer loved it. Maybe our margins were only 30%. Like when you look at all your time put into the project, all your resources, the team that you spent, and now you go, in order to survive, I need my margins to be 40 to 50%. So how do you get there as an agency? So maybe your next sale is 15K instead of 10K, and then you'll start to feel that adjustment to the market, where maybe that next customer is like, oh my God, 15K. I can't afford that. And then do you start to adjust, the price point there? If the next person signs up for 15K and they're like, yeah, we'll pay you all up front, then I'd be like, okay, maybe I need to go to 20K because maybe I am doing a lot. So I think you're in that interesting moment right now with this client to wrap your offering around what you've sold them, take it to that next customer, and just, really it's just see how you do with that next sale. And up to you whether or not you want to move it down, up the price up or down, depending on what you want to do. I like having, I said this to you before, like I like having a flat fee and then outlining all the things we're not going to be doing and just highlighting the value. I've said this a million times. If I went back in the client services, that's what I would do. I would have 10K. This is what you get for 10K. And then it's X amount of dollars per month. No more, no less on like what we're offering. Because as soon as you get into custom territory, that's when shit really hits the fan. And when you should really be charging more, my opinion.
This is one of the first projects that I've just thought about this now, where I used to always say on every other project, I was like, wow, I should have charged more for this.
Yeah.
And I think that's like directly correlated to the fact that I did all the work and I felt like super, super annoyed at the end of it because I was like just doing all the shit. So I wonder if that's like kind of like a sign a little bit too that like I'm probably headed in the right direction. I probably shouldn't be the technician, the sole technician of all these things. I should probably be the one that's like actually selling the stuff or like generating the sales and then project managing for now and possibly delegating that as well. Because my least favorite part of this was the part I dragged my feet on was literally generating AI content based off of stuff that was, the information that was given to me, which I don't know why I waited so long to do that. But yeah, that was kind of like the whole process was, signed, got the agreement signed, money changed hands, interviewed client. I started put together the content. Our contractor like started doing everything, and then that was kind of my job, was basically just deliver the content and design and development, everything that was largely taken care of. A couple things here and there that we, obviously talked on, which I think I'm headed in the right direction though. I think I'm much more of a strategy guy, and this also plays into the consulting aspect of stuff that I like to do because I don't know. I have this opportunity to scale the agency a little bit more, or at least like try to do it because I never have tried to scale it at all. And I think that's definitely possible in a route that I'm willing to travel here. But I think the thing I'm best at and the thing I'm destined to do is like more consulting because I don't know. I like to talk. I really like to ask questions. I can pretty much dissect anybody's problems if I just ask enough questions. I don't even really need to give advice. I can just give them like different ways to think about things and then arrive at solutions. So I'd really like to layer some more of that in but I just have too many audiences. I don't know if like I'm consulting with business owners specifically or,
Well, I think
WordPress people or what.
Yeah, this goes back to the essence of, if my goal is 30K a month, like where do you specifically focus in on achieving that goal, right? Like it's certainly not going to be talking about, WordCamp US, right? Unless your goal was to keep doing that to, find other WordPress brands to sponsor you or to have sponsored content or whatever. But I think you kind of made that, selection or that summary a while ago that you're not really trying to achieve that. And I think once again, I think the website is going to, it's much more clear cut to get to that goal. I would really be interested to see, if Mark did shorts for, once you get over this next project and kind of figure out like what that offering might be. That's why I think it's important that you critically look at this and go, how can I make another 10K? Like what was in this that allowed that customer to say 10K was the right number and then get them on a care plan, which was smart. How do I do that again? And all of this content that you create that's more about like raising your authority in the WordPress space. Well, if you just turn that to how do I send content out to a customer who's going to resonate with this 10K package? I mean, shit, man, if you did a short every day to get attention to that type of customer to land 10K, maybe you don't do it on YouTube, maybe you do it on LinkedIn because that's maybe a better place for you to do something like that, just hypothetically speaking. How does that move the numbers, right?
Like I said, that's the 100% thing is like, you
have to wrestle with that. You have to wrestle with what you want to do internally, right? Because you want to do the short every day because you like it, you enjoy it. It raises awareness. But I think in your gut, you might know, like if I talk to, I would never pick this vertical, but if you just talk to lawyers every day, because I think that's who that customer is, right? It's a law firm.
Yeah.
Probably a tough one to hit, but let's just say you did, like, and you just made content about that every single day. I think you and I both know the revenue numbers would probably jump. You'd have a lot of people tune out that it's your typical audience, but who cares?
I know it's 100% the way. It's just, I am petrified.
Sure. Me too.
Of taking my name, Mark Szymanski, and just becoming the lawyer fucking website guy. So,
well, you wouldn't be able to sell it if you said I'm Mark Szymanski, the lawyer fucking website guy.
well, obviously,
unless your client was Saul Goodman.
but I mean, like I am just not even changing the name, but like just being like, okay, everything Mark Szymanski, like there's so much Mark Szymanski posts now is all about like specific niche of lawyer websites or something. I don't know why, I just never have liked that ever. But big but here. Something interesting that I thought of that I actually have come around fully to, even though I hate the name Find It Tech. What I could do is I could just do the same thing, but I could put it there. And then the business just becomes a niched business. I actually wish I would have done that earlier. I wish I would have made like
I would agree.
That was called like lawyer websites or something, lawyerwebsitedesign.com or something, whatever. I mean, and just niched like that. And then I don't know why. There are people that have, taken their entire brand identity and put it to, like, Ben Heath comes to mind. He's like the Facebook and Google ads guy. Alex Hormozy is too wide because he's just business. That's awesome. Right. But I mean, there's probably other people that are all like specific one thing. I know the power of that, but it's pros and cons. Like Kevin Powell, like the CSS guy. It's like, I hate that. I hate the concept of that for some reason, because I feel like it's like I'm so much more than that as a person. And I really don't want to attach my personal brand to that. But I'm 100% down to attach a brand to that now.
Sure.
Like a brand that I own to that, and then being the face of that. 150% of that. Doesn't have the reach right now, but I could do that.
And this is where I think, and myself included, you fall into that, especially when I started out early on. It was like custom WordPress websites. It kind of worked. It worked for a lot of people because people were actually like looking for that to a degree literally 20 years ago, when they were like, yeah, we're getting off this other thing and we need to move to something. What's this WordPress thing all about? But I think a lot of people stayed in that territory where it's just like, we're a WordPress agency. We can build you anything. Let's talk. This is where I go back to, if you think back to on stage at PressConf, when I talked to Jake Goldman, I kind of made that joke when I was at WordCamp Miami with him. And I made that joke where he just like put his sunglasses down. And when I said, oh, so are you still doing small business websites? And he was just like, I don't understand the small business website, because you can't build this like big agency like 10up was or is, servicing those types of clients unless you're doing it at mass volume. So you need to be profitable. Like if you're going to say like, we can build you anything, then you have to do like big sites and you have to be super profitable to sustain that, because it's not easy to just find that next big custom project until you hire a sales team and like basically you look at the timeline of 10up and you see like how they evolved from custom WordPress websites, helping them build TechCrunch and all these other tech sites, to like going into the media and ad space, because Jake realized like, I can't sustain this business just doing these like WordPress websites. We have to get into the place that has money, like ads, ad tech, and marketing and enterprise. And that just comes with a whole different, caveat. So I agree. The Find It Tech, focus down. I don't have the answer for you, but like focus down. Like if it's not lawyer websites, you just have to be really honest with yourself. And you have to say like, is it custom WordPress websites and I run with that for 6 months just to see how it runs? Or do I say lawyer sites or small business sites? I don't know. Like you'd have to find out like what that vertical is. Or it's about the service itself. $10,000 website for SMBs and medium-sized businesses with marketing teams. Underscore with marketing teams, because they're going to have a budget and they're going to have people to work with you. I mean, you have to play on that, but
yeah. I mean, it's a pretty simple problem though that I have, or a pretty like simple is not the right word, but a pretty glaring problem is that I put out a shit ton of content, and most, if not all of it, or most of, if not none of it, has like an actual CTA in it.
Yep.
Like there's not like there's, I sell websites and maintenance plans, and I've sold ad management and all these things over there on the Find a Tech side. And on the Szymanski Media side, I've sold sponsorships, integrations, videos, consulting, like all these different things that, like I am capable of doing. But some people know about them, but I made that video yesterday where I talk about all this, and it's because a buddy of mine that, I see from time to time literally asked me, what do you do? Like I see you all the time, but what do you do?
Yeah.
Like that's a really, really glaring question to answer. It's like, that's not good. It's not bad because at least they see you. But now I really need I need to refactor it. I think the answer is, I don't know if I'm going to stop the shorts because I think that can't happen. I want the visibility, but I need to be more intentional with some of the content there. And more so, I really do think I've thought about that for a while. Let me just be the content creator for the business too, and just do that over there if I have this weird identity problem that I don't want to sacrifice. And just build up the business like a typical, person, I feel like, in that regard.
Yeah. I mean, I think once again, like it's so easy to get lost in the creativity of content. I mean, at least it is for me. Like, and I think it's the same with you, or where you just go from, I don't want to say you go from topic to topic, but it's like whatever is like really interesting to you, which has always been like what I've done. It's always been in the WordPress space, but I've always had it where it's just like, yeah, I'm going to run with something. We're going to talk about these things, and then I'm just going to move on. And I don't care, right? Like I never do the call to action stuff. And I never really like focused down on it. But over the last, again, this year was me trying to refocus the WP Minute, which we can talk about in a minute, but it's not easy. Like, it's not easy when you're doing these things and you feel like you're providing value. I think when you're providing value, like, you're satisfied with that. And even though you're good at sales and I'm good at sales, you just forget about it. Until I don't want to say it's a dire situation, but until you realize like this thing is not making any money and you need to move it to a sustainable thing, because you need it to be sustainable, logistically sustainable, right?
Yeah.
Like, I need to turn this into a business.
Yeah. That's where we're at. That's what we're going to do. Let's talk about WP Minute.
So I put out a tweet yesterday because I had a friend knock on my door, Messenger, in fact, and he was just like, hey, I got this new thing coming out. Would love to come on the podcast and talk about it. Now, this person has a sizable business. I don't like saying, a lot of people say this, like, oh, they have plenty of revenue, so they should have the money. But from a sales perspective, I know that they do. And I was like, hey, great. This person has been on the podcast before, and on many of my podcasts before. So I was just like, what do you think about supporting the WP Minute with a Foundation Plus for $1,500, right? That's my minimum sponsorship, right? We've talked about this before. Here's how I put it into my head. It's like $100-ish a month for a business that can't afford it. I'm not saying everybody has to do it, but in my head, I go, well, if you're a profitable WordPress business for just over $100 a month, you might want to support the WP Minute. It gives all this, here's all the value points you get. And then I feel like it's one of the best values in the business, right? It's a year long, $1,500 for the year. And then he responded with, logos and newsletters don't move the needle for me, which I totally respect. Like, I respect that it might not move the needle for you. But the way that I look at that interaction is, and this is not just him, this was just like the tipping point for me to like put this out on social media. I didn't name him, and I'm not going to name him, but the tipping point for me is when a sizable brand who I know has budget wants to leverage my podcast, which is leveraging my audience to say, hey, we got this thing, and you want to leverage my podcast because you want to leverage the WP Minute brand or my personal brand. You see value in all of that. You see value in reaching out to me to say, can we schedule this thing so I can talk about my new stuff? Because your audience is an audience that I want to reach, and you have a strong brand. So it's not that he said no. It's just the fact that there's no alignment. Like it's for him, it's just like I'm going to give you $1,500 and I want, 1,501 in return, to cover the costs. This is not the only time I've had this conversation. A lot of people look at it that way. But also a lot of these brands that look at it that way and this for your work, they want to leverage our audiences because they have no choice, right? Like we have valuable audiences that we've built. And I say it a million times, and I include you in that. There are content creators who just like, whatever, they just put out content. They don't really care. Just give me the money. Let's move on. Like we think critically about the content we put out at the WP Minute and the value we provide to sponsors and the value we provide to the audience. I mean, we think about it a lot. Me, Eric, Raquel, and I have some other people I've been working with the last couple of months about the content we're putting out. So I say all that to say I've been getting hyper-focused on one, saying, here's my call to action. Minimum, if you can support us because you need us. And two, like we are creating content for WordPress professionals, number one, how to help them do better with WordPress. And unapologetically, I'll use that word again, supporting WordPress. Because I ain't see nobody else doing it. Where they're like looking at WordPress and saying, WordPress is good for XYZ. WordPress users can do XYZ with WordPress. Why you should support WordPress XYZ. Like that's our mission statement moving forward. It used to be community WordPress news, community journalism for WordPress news or WordPress news. That's not it anymore. Now it's about educating people coming into the WordPress space and talking about why WordPress is a solid platform for like whatever the thing is that we're publishing. And I'm actually going to raise rates in October because the $1,500 is still not something that is sustainable, right? In the beginning, I was just like, yeah, if I can land $1,500 a month, or excuse me, one customer a month, that's $1,500 a month, then I can reinvest that into whatever else. I'm beyond that now, but it's still not sustainable to pay for, or to reinvest into the business profits, right? Reinvest profits back into the business, to pay for Eric, to pay for other freelancers and other folks that help with the work. So, I got 2 customers out of that tweet, which I kind of knew I would, right? To just like put it out there. And it's a testament to say like call to action, to ask for money, because I get frustrated with it, but I also remember to myself, like, I'm not constantly asking, for that money. So yeah, it was a good reminder of that. And it's just something that I know you wrestled with before, and people look at it and go, it's not valuable enough. It's not going to get me enough clicks. It's just like, bro, it's not just about clicks. It's about supporting us so that next year when you have your feature update and you want to talk about it, we're here. I'm in business. You can come on my podcast and talk about whatever it is, right? And it's not a pay to play thing. It's just like we are sustainable for that opportunity. So anyway, that's my soapbox moment. That's what happened over the weekend.
I didn't see that tweet until now. I mean, I think it's just a hard thing. It's a hard thing to actually fully tangibilize. That's probably not a word, but like the value of these things, especially when the ROI is super subjective in a lot of ways. I mean, but
this is something that I recognize, right? So the WP Minute, we're going to start launching courses soon, right? So what we want to do is be able to help and educate newcomers into the space who want to be WordPress professionals, or maybe consider themselves that already or whatever. And this is me like refining my offer and my value prop, because I know sponsorships are mostly in kind, and I have a valuable audience. I feel like I do. But I also recognize like this is not a business model that's going to survive, right? It'll have a nice maybe like plateau of revenue, but this is not something that's going to, like, sponsorship alone will not scale. To
but
really
wait a second.
hire
You're
people.
saying you've come to that realization.
Yes. I mean, I've came to that realization a while ago. It's like it just takes me forever to get these things in motion.
Well, I don't want to be overly dramatic, but I mean, like, do you just like? I mean, I constantly wrestle with this concept, and luckily, I don't know, I'm just kind of like starting out, so to speak, and like I'm thinking of like broader, like where I'm headed, like there's more to it, but like, you know, I mean, you're obviously like you are very niched with the WP Minute.
Right.
So it's like you can't really go out. I mean, obviously we talked about this over the last year or whatever. Like you can't really go outside of that too heavily. I think that like the quality that you're producing and the subjective value that you're placing on that, and then the objective, you know, the actual physical prices that you're putting on that stuff, like, don't you? I don't want to say like, do you think? I don't know if is like, are we? Maybe we're just talking about the same things we always talk. Like, is the market even there? Like for that type of stuff in WordPress land?
Not for like sustained sponsorship. Yeah, no, it's not. I mean, it's no, it's not. It's not just for sponsorship. And you know, I know I'll have sponsors that, you know, come and go, and they'll, you know, and some sponsors come back after a couple of years. So like, I'm still analyzing that space. Like I've only really critically been selling sponsorship for this stuff for the last 4 years. And over the last couple of years, like there was a big ramp up where there was like a lot of money coming in. This was 3 years ago. And then like, or thereabouts, but then like as soon as the Matt stuff happened, or just like right up until that, you just saw like everybody just saying no to stuff. And then, you know, now midway through this year, people started saying yes again, which was good. But the point is like, no, sustained sponsorships is not a business model that will last in the WordPress space, at least not right now. So yeah, finding new ways to make, you know, to make revenue is important.
Don't you think though that like, I mean, it sounds like you're on your way there, but like with courses, like couldn't you get a sponsor for a course?
Absolutely.
And then also sell the course?
Absolutely. That's one of the things that we're exploring. Probably won't sell the course right out of the gate, but we have plans for cohort-based learning anyway. So like you can have a course. One of the things we've been talking about is the course might be free, but then there'll be like cohort-based learning, which you would pay for, but you're getting in a group, and you're getting, you know, weekly you know, in-person stuff with either me, Eric, or Raquel on, you know, whatever the topic might be. And that's, you know, a brand could give people access to that. Like a brand could pay for X amount of seats, and that's how, you know, we do it. But yes, that's one of the routes that we're headed into.
Diversification.
Yeah, I mean, diversification, but you know, also, I have no problem saying it. It's just like it is a challenge to have the constant call to action, and to you know, remember to keep, you know, selling this stuff. It's just, you know, the media side is hard. Yeah, I've even thought about doing like because I've had people over the last couple of weeks. I mean, you've said this to me before as well. Like, oh, you should teach some AI stuff, but it's just like there's nothing. The first thing that comes to my head is like, what am I going to teach that people can't figure it out themselves? I already know the answer to that. There's a lot of people who don't and who are unwilling to, or at least like get to my like stage of like understanding. But number two is just like, I often think like, you know, developers and like people in the WordPress space, they don't spend any money, especially developers. Right. So it's just be like, I could go to like small businesses. And then I started to think about that over the weekend too. It's just like the advice I gave you is like, what if I just did nothing online for AI, for like an AI course or consulting or whatever? And it was just all like offline, like not offline, but like traditional, like reach out to Chamber of Commerce's or reach out to other organizations and do like just have a website with the offer on it, but like not doing any social media stuff and just taking it direct, because it's such a hot topic right now where like, maybe I don't need a podcast, YouTube channel, newsletter, freaking social media posts every 5 seconds. So anyway, I forget what the point of that was. The point of that was like just like having a focus on who the customer is, what the offer is, and doing the outreach.
It probably could work. It would probably be less distracting too. I mean, I've seen an uptick in posts about people quitting social media. And
Yeah,
not like quitting it like Dan Coe, what's the guy's name? Ed Lawrence. It's like these guys all just steal each other's YouTube video ideas. But yeah, like why everybody's quitting social media, and like they're quitting social media and increasing their business is also the angle, like doing both. So, I mean, that could be it. I still think it's actually a really interesting topic there slightly, because you know the ones some of the people that I mentioned that like, oh, I see you all the time but I don't know what you do, like they're a typical person, you know what I mean? Like they're just a lay person, you know what I mean? Like they're just a friend, you know, they're not like in WordPress, they're not in whatever. And it's like I'm thinking that's interesting. Maybe for a consumer, your typical consumer, like they're on there. That's why like maybe like retail, and I'm thinking ads in retail space, but like just those types of things, like people consume that shit all the time. But I'm wondering, I didn't watch any of those videos, so I'm wondering what their actual experience and results were like when they quit social media. Like, what are they doing elsewhere? Like, how are they really leveraging something else to, I don't know, just impact their business? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's a newsletter. I don't know. I didn't watch it, so I don't know. But
yeah, I mean, podcasts. Podcasts. That's the reason why you see this resurgence in podcasts, right? Traditional media, people moving to podcasts. Nobody getting their news or their sports news from ESPN anymore, right? It's all like individuals, and it's this trend. And I think like when you go on, like just specifically on the topic of AI, but also WordPress to a degree, like when you look at WordPress content from, let's call it 6 or 7 years ago, it's vastly different these days. And I think you have less of that, like build your own website, start your own business with WordPress. Like I think a lot of that stuff, like that spammy affiliate stuff, there's less of that now because it's all saturated, number one, but like nobody's really engaging with that anymore for various factors. And when you look at the AI space, like what do you see online? All the stuff I vent about, with you in direct messages, right? It's just like, here's this guy who just said he's making $380K a day with his latest like vibe coded thing. And you're just like, customers somewhere out there just want a sane, normal person to talk to them about those topics. But they go to YouTube or they go to Twitter or they go to LinkedIn and they just see the sales pitch and the hype. And they're just like, what the hell is this? Right? So if you could directly reach that person, you have a better chance of the sale, in my opinion. So is traditional media winning? Like, I don't know. I'd love to know. I'd love to know if like traditional advertising is actually going back.
Yeah, I would imagine it's probably like kind of a cyclical thing to a degree,
right.
Kind of like swings back.
Right. Because
pendulum.
Like, yeah, if you're just like oversaturated, overstimulated on like Twitter, Facebook ads and all this other stuff, and if people are going on social media going, why do I go on social media? It's just a shit fest of just headlines and news. And if they're tuning that out, where's that next opportunity? I think it's podcasts. But also two is just like maybe direct mail, maybe
this guy's
a billboard.
Start sending mailers.
Yeah. Why not? Why not?
Maybe. I don't know. I'd have to think. I have to think of how to target people with that, though.
Look at this. It's my new toy.
Oh, yeah, you're a family vlogger now. I forgot.
Insta360. I tell you what, a piece of equipment this is.
You
fun.
love that thing.
Yeah.
I think you should lean in.
It's the Matthew Mark Show.
There it is.
The WPminute.com, MJS.bio. Maybe Find a Tech. You'll see some videos, some shorts about lawyers.
Gonna change the name first.
No, don't change the name. Just run with it. Here's the task. Here's the task. I want you to consult 100% your favorite LLM and just do exactly what that LLM tells you to do to rebrand and to relaunch.
I should.
And then you come back
YouTube video.
And we run that back and see how the results work.
I should do that. That would be a good experiment. Maybe I will.